Chairman, and again, I'd like to thank all the nominees for taking time to meet with me. I enjoyed the conversations, and again, I appreciate your service to the country. And Ambassador Newland, particularly want to say thank you for coming and during kind of the height of the talking points controversies, sitting down with me in my office and explaining a few things. Unfortunately, there are an awful lot of questions that still remain about what happened following Benghazi, and quite honestly, even before it. For example, we still have not been given the names or access to the survivors. I asked General Dempsey in a Budget Committee hearing, really what was the status of the commander in extremis force that was on patrol or actually on training in Croatia. Still haven't found out what the N+ time was in terms of their ready reaction. So there's still an awful lot of questions. And during the hearings of this full committee with Secretary Clinton, in response to my question, when she uttered, at this point, what difference does it make, or I guess what difference at this point does it make, the question I have is, do you believe that in your role representing the United States government that the American people deserve the truth out of members of the administration?
Senator, the American people deserve the truth. This body deserves the truth. Those of us who were friends of the victims, as I was, deserve the truth, yes.
In reviewing the change from the talking points, original talking points, and how they were sanitized, it is pretty remarkable how sanitized they really were. I know you had some participation in there. On your September 14th email, it states the changes made to the CIA talking points still, and I quote, "don't resolve all of my issues or those of my building leadership." Can you just tell me who that building leadership was, who you're referring to there?
Senator, I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk about my role in the talking points issue. With your forbearance, I'd like to give a little bit of background before I answer your specific question. First, I just want to make clear that when I was reviewing these talking points, which was only on the Friday evening of September 14th, they were not for a member of the administration to use. They were talking points that the CIA was proposing to give to members of the House Intelligence Committee to
Correct.
use, right? So that was the first thing. Second, I was not in a policy role in this job. I was in a communications role. So my responsibilities were to ensure consistency of our public messaging, but not to make policy. So I never edited these talking points. I never made changes. I simply said that I thought that policy people needed to look at them. Also, by way of background, by the time Friday came around, as spokesperson for the department, I had already given 3 public briefings on Benghazi. The first was on Wednesday evening. I gave a background briefing in which I clearly said that this had been a complex attack. It was an attack by extremists. Then I gave 2 briefings at the podium, my regular midday briefing on Thursday and my midday briefing on Friday. In those briefings, I was on agreed interagency talking points in which I noted again and again our firm commitment to investigate fully what had happened. But I declined to give any more detail, citing the need to have a full investigation, and particularly the integrity of the FBI's investigation. So when I saw these talking points on Friday night, just a few hours after that had been my guidance, they indicated a significant evolution beyond what we had been saying at noon. And it was on that basis that I raised 3 questions in my communications role. The first was, and again, these were for members of the House to use, not for an administration official to use. So my first question was with regard to consistency. It struck me as strange that we were giving talking points to members of the House that went considerably further than what we in the administration had been saying at that point. And I felt that if House members were going to say this, we government communicators should be able to say it too. The second was that I had been under very tight guidance that we must do and say nothing that would prejudice the integrity of the FBI's investigation. So I wanted to make sure that the CIA had actually checked with the FBI and Justice and that they were comfortable with these talking points. The third concern that I had was with regard to the second to last paragraph of the talking points as I was looking at them, which made reference to past agency reporting about the situation in Benghazi. And frankly, Senator, I looked at them and they struck me as a partial rendering of some of the background information behind the situation, and I was concerned that giving them out this way would encourage members of Congress and members of the public to draw inaccurate conclusions about our respective agencies' role in the entirety of the Benghazi issue. So I didn't change them. I didn't edit
I appreciate
them.
that, but
Yeah.
I think your specific quote in your email about that penultimate point was that you were concerned that members of Congress would beat the State Department. So you're a little more concerned about the State Department getting beat up by members of Congress and potentially getting the truth out to the American people. I mean, that would be my concern in terms of interpretation of that.
Sir, as I said, my concern was that this was not an accurate representation of the full picture.
But again, let's just get
yes.
back to some facts. So who would be the building leadership that weren't satisfied with the resolution of suggested changes to the talking points? Who would those people be?
So after my first email with these concerns, the agency came back with another draft, but that draft continued to make reference to the past agency reporting that I thought was a prejudicial way of characterizing it. So it was on that basis that I raised objections again.
Okay,
and here, this was...
Ambassador Newland, I'm running out of time. So again,
Yeah.
I just really wanted some just facts. I mean, who were the building leadership that you're referring to that wasn't satisfied with the suggested changes? Who would those individuals be? And then
again,
further, because the next question will be, who was at the deputies' meeting? Who are those people?
With regard to building leadership, I was concerned that all of my bosses at the policy level needed to look at these to see if they agreed with me that they were
Who would those bosses
potentially
be? What about names? I mean, who are those individuals?
Well, obviously, as I reported to the full spectrum of undersecretaries and deputy secretaries.
Were there
everybody
particular people that were concerned about the changes that weren't being made?
The only person that I consulted with that night was my regular reporting channel with regard to issues that I was not able to solve at my level. So our regular procedure when I, as spokesperson, could not solve an issue at my level or when I thought that there needed to be more policy input versus communications input, was to send my concerns up to the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. That's what I did that
And
night.
that
I did
person
not
is?
consult with anybody else.
And that person is?
At the time, that was Jake Sullivan.
Okay, thank
and
you.
he's on the emails, as you can see them, as
Thank
they
you,
were
Mr.
released
Chairman.
to you.
Thank you, Senator Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and let me thank all three